Hello everybody. This video is going to show you how to add and manipulate grid lines. So let's get started. I've pretty much here on level 1 created 2 buildings. This is going to be very typical for a multi-building project. If you only have one building, it doesn't really apply, but if you do have multiple buildings on one project file, this is how you're going to add some grid lines and manipulate them, especially if they have shared grid lines, which we'll have right here. So let's go ahead and get started. We're going to start with the main building. I'm actually on level 1, and I'm going to add my grid lines to level 1 so that they represent for every preceding level after. So in our structure tab, I'm going to go here to the grid lines, and I'm going to add a grid line in. And I've used the reference plane. That really helps me kind of define a good point. And the grid I pop in is E. It's the reason why it's coming in as E is because I've done this example, and D was actually the last grid I placed in, so it's thinking E is the next in line, but simply changed by clicking in the bubble and typing in A. Now I'm going to add in another grid line at this reference plane, and it will be B. Rev is now aligning those tails up, kind of keeping things really nice and clean, the way I like it. And I'm going to add another in this reference plane, grid C. And then I'm going to come all the way down here to this outbuilding and add grid D right here. Okay. All right. So now that I've got those placed, again, the reason why I placed them on level 1 is so that they show up on level 2. You can see that the grids are also represented here and in level 3 if you're continuing on. And if I expanded this view, you also see grid D as well. Okay, fantastic. So our framing, it's going to be second floor framing. So we're going to start here at level 2. The idea in this is that we've got such a great distance here between the main building and the outbuilding that if you were to just drag this, put everything on the way that it's shown here and try to drag it on a sheet, you're going to have to reduce that scale down probably to an unreadable level, and it most likely wouldn't fit depending on the spacing. Now this grid D, I'm going to modify this a little bit. I want it down here. I've done this example before. And I want my grid lines to show up down here. Okay. All right. Kind of some pre-thought going to this. Okay. So what the intent is, because we don't want to just try to grab this in, we're going to create duplicate views and do our work within those duplicate views and bring them into the sheets independently. So what we're going to do now is we're actually going to take level 2 and we're going to duplicate that. Okay, and once I have that duplicated, I'm going to rename it. And I'm going to call this the main building. Okay, fantastic. I'm going to do that again here in just a little bit. I'm going to do that again, duplicate it, and call it the outbuilding. But before I do, I need to manipulate these grid lines so that they display properly for the outbuilding. And the way to do that is by selecting one of the grid, grabbing the grip, and bringing them down to a location where they'll work for the lower building. Okay? All right. So once that's done, what we're going to do now is duplicate the main building, then rename it for the outbuilding. All right, fantastic. Now we have 2 views of level 2, one for the main building, one for the outbuilding. Both identical at this point. So once you have it done, now it's time to manipulate the crop region. So selecting the crop region for the main building, we're going to go ahead and change that to a more manageable size. Okay. Fantastic. And then we're also going to do that for the outbuilding. Now, watch what happens to the grid lines when I start manipulating them on this crop region. See how grid A, B, and C, they actually show up now down here. So you can see that we're already getting that the proper look. So these grid lines are still tied to the overall grid lines. It's just because view change, it's going to show a little differently as well. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to change these here. And bring them down to that point there. Nice. So now our outbuilding has grids B, C, and D. And let's get that lined up. There we go. Everything looks really good. Get rid of that dimension. There we go. And for the main building, we still have grids A, B, and C showing up here, but we want those legs to not be extending all the way down like that. So we're going to bring them up a little bit here. Give us a nice clean look. All right. So now what we have are two views that show the main building, its grids A, B, and C, as well as a outbuilding or a remote building that also shows grids B, C, and D. And then this way, when it comes time to adding them into our sheet, it's a lot easier just to grab the main building view, place it in, grab your outbuilding view, and also place it in. Now this other main building, that looks actually pretty good. And this outbuilding, though, it's going to be fine on the sheet. You don't have to align things, but the nice thing about Revit is you can. So by taking this view and then bringing it up a little bit, and then sliding it over, we'll try to align. So let's get it there. There we go. So now what we have is an outbuilding and a main building, and we have perfect alignment at grids B and C without all that unused space sitting out there. Great. Hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching.